Straight ahead on 12 News, a big television production for a big game. Meet the Robbinsdale native, part of the NBC football crew. Plus, we stop by a Robbinsdale gun shop for a conversation about gun control. Will President Obama's executive action make a difference? But first,
this building wasn't built for today, it was built for the next 20 years.
Major improvements to help Brooklyn Park police. 12 News starts right now.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Finishing touches are underway on a nearly $10 million upgrade for the Brooklyn Park Police Station on 85th Avenue.
A year-long remodeling project gives the growing department much more space. Reporter Shannon Slatton gives us a look inside.
It's been a long road to get here.
Inside the remodeled Brooklyn Park Police Station on 85th Avenue, you can still smell the new paint.
The only part of this building that was not touched was our training room.
Deputy Chief Mark Bruley led us around the revamped space.
This building wasn't built for today, it was built for the next 20 years.
Departments are now grouped together to enhance workflow, and there's more space for meetings.
There would be many times you couldn't even have a meeting with staff members because there wasn't rooms available to have a meeting.
Before, storing long-term evidence was a big problem. Now there's more secure space for evidence small and large.
And sometimes we forget that cars are evidence in a crime.
Cars can be investigated in a secure, temperature-controlled location inside the new garage, where all police vehicles will also be stored.
They're warm, they're ready to go, so this makes a big difference.
And another big change.
This is much more of where modern tactical teams are going.
SWAT vehicles are stored inside now too, with doors open and gear ready.
They can come in, quickly grab what they need and get on the trucks and go.
Before, it would take as long as 45 minutes to get the trucks loaded and out. It's another way a better building could mean a quicker response.
So we're just much more efficient now in the way we operate.
In Brooklyn Park, Shannon Slatton, 12 News.
When planning the remodel, the department tried to outfit the building for the next 20 years.
A local gun shop owner is reacting to President Obama's executive action this week aimed at reducing gun violence. The owner of Bill's Gun Shop and Range in Robbinsdale says the changes are not exactly on mark as he sees it. Here's reporter Sonia Goins.
You're going to answer all of these questions here. Are you a felon? Are you buying a gun for yourself?
Bill's Gun Shop owner John Munson says President Obama's executive actions won't really impact how he does business. Under the president's plan, if you're in the business of selling firearms, you must get a dealer's license and conduct a background check for every sale.
We already do background checks on every transaction.
John says the president's executive actions will hurt smaller gun dealers because the background paperwork is tedious.
It's an added time, which is the biggest thing. The expense for the license, yeah, they're expensive.
While John agrees there should be background checks, he says the president's executive actions are not on target.
Criminals don't go through licensed dealers, and they're still going to be able to get them off the street. I honestly think all of the things that we changed and all of the things that were implemented by the executive action will have absolutely zero impact on anything.
Meanwhile, the folks at Bill's Gun Shop say all the talk about gun control has been a boost for business.
There's not the supply to meet the demand. So it's not crazy, but we're getting to that point where it's harder for me to get a replacement to sell. In
Robbinsdale, Sonia Goins, 12 News.
President Obama also wants to develop new technologies to make guns safer in order to reduce injuries and deaths from guns that are accidentally discharged.
Brooklyn Park Police have arrested 3 people in connection with mailbox thefts. Police say last year there were 57 mail thefts in Brooklyn Park and 12 in Brooklyn Center. Most happened around the border of the 2 cities. Brooklyn Park Police believe there are 2 independent groups responsible for the thefts, and the thieves were mainly after personal information to steal identities. These cases are still under investigation. Much is made about closing Minnesota's achievement gap between white students and those of color.
It is a primary focus for schools throughout the Northwest Metro, and superintendents from 5 different West Metro school districts spoke on the subject Friday morning to members of the Twin West Chamber of Commerce. Superintendents from Robbinsdale and Wayzata said it's important to change the conversation about closing the achievement gap. They say it shouldn't be a focus on white versus non-white students, but rather a focus on raising expectations and skill level of all students. And one way to do that is by preparing students for the workforce through partnerships between businesses and schools.
We should be focusing on the gap between excellence and non-excellence. Because if we focus on that, then students will develop the skills and then they will have the choice. We also have to get out of the paradigm that students have to go to college right now. And we can think about students can go in the industry right now.
Just those field experiences, those opportunities to engage early before, as you're headhunting, if you will, for your future employees, to give consideration to working in cooperation with our high schools to connect with these young people and maybe mentor and give them some field experiences while they're doing their formal training. So when they're done with that formal training, they have that nice combination of field experiences and the knowledge base that they need to really help you out.
One example is a student might start out as a welder out of high school through an apprenticeship type program, then go to college later, perhaps through a work scholarship to become an engineer.
It has been 65 years since the Terrace Theater opened in Robbinsdale. Supporters of the shuttered theater hope to see it open once again. This year, they will focus on how to acquire and preserve the Terrace Theater. Supporters are encouraged to write letters to local officials as well as attend fundraisers and celebrations planned for this year.
Now we've increased to nearly 2,200 members online. We're getting a lot of support both from the local citizens and a lot of the local businesses as well. A lot of people want to have the theater reopen to kind of revitalize that area.
The fundraiser will be in March and a celebration of the theater's anniversary opening will be in May. All money raised will go towards the application for the theater to go on the National Historic Register. For more information, you can visit historicterracetheater.com. Coming up, a Robbinsdale native who will help bring Sunday's big Vikings game to your television set.
And then later in sports, a girls' hockey thriller as Breck and Andover need overtime to decide their match.
But first, the weather word of the day is layers. You'll need lots of them to keep warm this weekend, especially Sunday. We'll be right back. A local food shelf says donors were generous during the holiday food drive that just ended. Jan Monroe of the Near Food Shelf in Crystal stopped by Channel 12 studios today to pick up groceries that had been dropped off here during the holidays.
We were very, very pleased with food drives this year. We got a lot of things that are expensive and a lot of things that we really needed. So yes, it was very good.
Monroe says they always need basics for cooking, and they did well with things like vegetables, flour, sugar, and oil. Food shelves are looking ahead to the next big push, which is the March Food Share Drive. Football fans will be focused on Minneapolis this Sunday when the Seattle Seahawks battle the Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs.
That's right, and for one Northwest Metro area resident, this is more than a game. It's also a chance to build his resume because of a unique opportunity with NBC. Eric Nelson has the story.
Basically, I'm a grip for NBC. First time I worked here, I actually did get to meet Bob Costas. That was pretty cool. Most people start out pretty small. This is starting out pretty big.
Robbinsdale's Paul Langfellow has become very familiar with the Peacock.
Well, today, so I'm going to be working on time-lapse stuff. We got different cameras here.
This Sunday will be the third straight week that Langfellow has worked an NFL game for NBC.
I'm only a college student, and doing this for the first time is a big deal for me. It is a big deal.
Langfellow will be on the sidelines during the Seahawks-Vikings game at frozen TCF Bank Stadium.
These things are basically just different types of parts for the cameras. They have big ones that they set up on the field. They probably have me go out, measure out exactly where they need to be.
Langfellow is thrilled to be part of the NBC team and embraces any job role he is given.
Last time they had me go out, I did lighting on the field with Michelle Tafoya.
NBC's weekly broadcasts are a traveling circus.
You name it, they have somebody for everything.
The network is bringing a crew of 200 to the Twin Cities.
It'll be a really cool experience.
This is eye-popping stuff for Langfellow, who is a senior at UW River Falls, majoring in television and communications.
Really a good thing to put on my resume and for my future if I do want to work in the media.
You know, he's working with the top-rated television show in the country. Every week, Sunday Night Football gets the top ranking in the country. It's about as good as it gets.
Of course, working for the nation's top-rated primetime show also means long hours. Langfellow reports to TCF Bank Stadium at 6 a.m. for a game that starts at 12 p.m. He will also battle the deep freeze. On Sunday, the snow will give way to frigid cold. Minneapolis will feel more like the North Pole. The forecast high is 4 degrees. Langfellow is bracing for the elements. Previous games and icy temps have taught Langfellow how to dress for the cold.
I wore 4 layers last time, so maybe 5 this time.
In Minneapolis, I'm Eric Nelson, Channel 12 News.
There will be plenty for Paul to do. NBC will have 42 cameras at the nationally televised Seahawks-Vikings game. By comparison, Fox used just 9 cameras for last week's Detroit-Chicago regional telecast. Well, coming up, a Cooper High School grad who now plays a very important role in the Minnesota Orchestra.
But first in sports, a big boys basketball showdown between Osseo and Champlin Park. John Jacobson has the highlights and more when we come back.
Banter?
Apparently not. Breck evens the score again as Breza picks the top corner. The game goes to overtime, tied at 4. Yep. Osseo and Champlin Park have played some big games in boys basketball in the playoffs and the regular season. Their contest Thursday matched the 11-0 Orioles against the 10-1 Rebels. Highlights from this game at Champlin Park High School. Champlin Park's McKinley Wright drives the lane here, spins and scores to give Champlin Park a 9-8 lead. In transition, the pass ahead to Wright. He scores to give the Rebels what turns out to be their biggest lead of the night at 18-14. The Orioles were able to get a lot of points in the paint. 2 here for Cameron Betty, tying the game up. DeMario Armstrong gets a steal. He'll fly the other way for a dunk. Osseo leads 23-20. Late in the first half, Alan Anderson passes in to Betty for an easy 2. He had 26 points in the game and helps Osseo to a 33-28 lead at halftime. Second half, DJ Hunter follows his own miss to score for the Rebels. He put in 16 points in the night. But the Rebels never get closer than 3 points in the second half. Zach Tyson with a long 2-pointer. The Orioles' leading scorer in the season scores 20 points on this night. Osseo wins it over Champlin Park 77-64. The Orioles are now 12-0 on the season, 7-0 in Northwest Suburban Conference games. In girls basketball, the race in the West Division of the Northwest Suburban Conference is heating up. Defending champion Park Center showed they can't be overlooked as they hosted Totino-Grace Thursday night. Totino-Grace tries to battle back from an early deficit. Jenna Meyer knocks down a long 3 from the right side to pull her team within 5 points. Good quick passing for Park Center results in a wide open look for Ann Simonette, and she buries the 3 ball. 19 points for Simonette total, and Park Center leads 27-15. Summer Blakemore picks up the loose ball for the Pirates and starts the fast break, setting up Aja Michael for the layup. It's 36-19 Pirates at the half. Grace tries to battle back. Meyer sends it ahead to Julia Sowold for the 3, but it's an uphill battle for the Eagles in this one. Megan Dubois will step into the passing lane and gets the steal. And a layup, and Park Center hands Totino-Grace its first conference loss of the season, 73-45. In boys hockey, Armstrong-Cooper and Osseo are battling in the middle of the Northwest Suburban Conference West Division standings. The first of 2 meetings this season comes at Osseo's Dick Vraw Arena. First period, Osseo's Eric Lyons picks up the loose puck in front. It's stopped, but Anthony Fetzik is there for the rebound to make it 1-0 just 2 minutes in. Armstrong-Cooper takes the lead with 10 minutes left in the period. Nicholas Holscher breaks in alone and beats goalie Jordan Mazzatelli to make it 2-1 Wings. Osseo's turn. Off the face-off win. Fetzik 1 times a blast past goalie Keegan Odell to tie things up at 2. Still in the first, Osseo's Max Johnson to Boone Almquist. His shot beats Odell, and the Orioles end the first period up 3-2. The Wings' Andrew Burns turns a quick 2-on-1. He passes to Eric Evans, who stopped, but Burns is there for the tap-in. The Orioles' lead is cut to 1. Third period, the lone goal belongs to Osseo. Cameron Perna's shot redirected right to Fetzik, and he completes his hat trick, giving Osseo a 5-3 win. In girls hockey, Breck's schedule has a number of Class AA teams on it. The Mustangs got a good test as they hosted Andover Thursday. The Huskies strike first, but Breck freshman Carly Bennick scores on the wrist shot, tying it at 1. Andover works a perfect 2-on-1. Michelle Holmes to Claire Buderak for a 2-1 Huskies lead. Breck gets 2 goals in a row to take the lead. Sydney Breza buries the rebound, and it's 3-2 Mustangs. Andover rallies in the third period, and Holmes tucks in the rebound for a 4-3 lead. But Breck evens the score again as Breza picks the top corner. The game goes to overtime, tied at 4. And Bennick wins it for the Mustangs as her rebound shot finds its way in. Breck wins a great battle over Andover 5-4 in overtime. And that's a look at sports for today.
All right, thanks, John. Still had a unique perspective on the Minnesota Orchestra.
Coming up next, meet the Cooper grad who plays a very important role when we come back.
This weekend, you have the chance to see a hometown boy make good, very good.
And Neil Persley explains in today's Weekend Showcase.
I always liked the sound of it. I like the sound of the oboe. I think I probably listened to Peter and the Wolf as a young person, you know, in elementary school, probably listened to Peter and the Wolf and loved the sound of the oboe.
Meet Joseph Peters.
The instrument just spoke to me.
The Minnesota Orchestra's newest principal oboist, who also happens to be a Cooper High School graduate.
Cooper has a great music program, always had a great music program, and the band director there was so supportive and so wonderful, built such a great community for the band.
Joseph's resume could take up the rest of the show. But to give you an idea of how competitive landing a chair at the Minnesota Orchestra is, let alone a principal chair, Joseph beat out over 100 other skilled applicants from across the country.
The audition process is long and exhausting and takes all day or all of a couple days, and so when they told me I got the job, it was just it was relief more than anything.
Do you know which instrument is responsible for getting all the other instruments in tune?
Well, the oboe tunes the orchestra. That's my first job on stage at every concert, is to give the A so that everyone can tune.
Here's an interesting tidbit.
I do make my own reeds. I think most people, once they reach a certain level, make their own reeds. It's a time-consuming process. I think I probably spend more time making reeds than I do actually practicing the instrument.
Joseph also wears the mantle of maestro from time to time.
I am also a conductor. I've been doing that for just about as long as I've been playing oboe.
This weekend, the Minnesota Orchestra continues its Beethoven Marathon.
Beethoven's the man, as far as I'm concerned. Beethoven is my favorite composer.
And the hometown musician who got his start at Cooper High will be playing a very key role in a very prestigious orchestra.
This is such a great place to end up that, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better job, better colleagues, better music makings.
For Weekend Showcase, Neil Persley, 12 News.
Now you can catch Joseph and the rest of the Minnesota Orchestra tonight with concerts through Sunday. And information on tickets and times is available at minnesotaorchestra.org. So congratulations, Joseph. I think he's only been there a short amount of time, but he's got that top chair.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
Cooper grad right there.
That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
We'll see you back here on Monday.